I've experienced honour-based abuse from my family, both physically and emotionally. I'm not allowed to socialise or go on school trips. My family doesn't approve of me going sixth form and want me to go to Pakistan to be married. They threaten me to take me out of school to force me into marriage.
These are the words of a 15-year-old British schoolgirl. She's calling Karma Nirvana a National Honour Violence Helpline. Official government figures suggest that around 400 children, mainly girls from South Asian communities, are forced into marriage during school holidays every year in the UK.
I was doing my GCSE history exam, and then I had to come home and prepare to be married off the next day.
We've heard that many of these children disappear from school registers.
If hundreds of white British young people went missing off our school rolls, I believe there would be an outcry.
We explore claims that the number of missing schoolgirls forced into marriage is actually in its thousands, and that teachers and other professionals are turning a blind eye for fear of disrupting community cohesion.
There is no excuse here for claiming that it's about racial cohesion or community cohesion. I think human rights always trump cultural rights.
We've also found that some religious leaders are agreeing to perform underage marriages here in the UK.
14 साल की है, लड़का 20 साल का है और वो रहता है लंदन में। हाँ जी। तो शरई तौर पर जो निकाह का मामला है वो तो हो जाएगा।
Last year, Exposure highlighted the story of the honour killing of Banaz Mahmood, a young British Kurdish woman who was murdered by members of her own family because they felt she had brought shame on them. The film features footage of Banaz herself telling police that she feared for her life.
People following me in the future or at any time, if anything happens to me, it's them.
At the age of 16, without being allowed to make her own choice, Banaz was married by her family to a much older man.
He wouldn't take no for an answer, and he would just start raping me, and he said to me he would kill me if I said anything to anyone.
Banaz's family refused to let her leave the marriage. When she did and chose a life for herself, she was killed for going against their wishes.
Families give all sorts of reasons why they say that a child should marry the person they choose for them. They say, for example, we want to keep our land in our family, so it's materialistic in some way. They say that it's essential to enable somebody to facilitate immigration.
It can be about trying to deal with an issue of dishonour, where, say, a young girl is shaming the family according to them, so they want to deal with her through marrying her very quickly, because then the eyes are off her. Now she's a respectable married woman.
Every year, it's believed thousands of girls, mainly of South Asian origin, disappear from school registers. No one knows exactly how many of them are forced into marriage, but we've been told that the official estimate of about 400 is too low. What we do know is that the effect on a young girl is devastating. What happened to Mira as a 15-year-old schoolgirl has been so devastating that she hasn't been able to tell her friends or family members. She is still trapped in her forced marriage 40 years on. We have protected her identity and changed her voice.
Even the child doesn't know what's going to happen to her, what's going to change for her. She's always been taught, nobody should touch you. You shouldn't sit next to a male person. But then all of a sudden, they're forcing you to sleep with somebody. They tell you to just let things take their course. Let him do what he wants to do with you. I still didn't know what they meant until it happened. In a way, they were saying, don't make a sound, don't say anything, don't say no, basically.
I watched the majority of my sisters being taken out of British schools 35 years ago when they were 15 years old to marry men
They'd only ever met in photographs. They would have long absences, which were never questioned.
Jasvinder Sangera, who comes from a Sikh family, is the founder of Karma Nirvana, a charity that supports victims and survivors of forced marriage and honour-based abuse. This charity runs a national helpline that receives an average of 550 calls every month.
We're all dealing with the tip of the iceberg. Beneath the iceberg, there are many we've yet to reach. With respect to minors, the problem we have is, in fact, it's not, it's an opportunity. In education, even when I was at school, you have a register. Miss, I'm here. If you're not there, you record it as absence. And that absence is meant to be the trigger, the indicator, to say, why isn't X here? And in these cases, those things are not being followed up in the same way as white British children in England and Wales.
I was 14 years old when my mother presented me with the photograph that I was to learn this was the man I was going to marry. And I was the one that said, no, I'm not marrying this man. I was born in Britain. I want to do my GCSEs, dare I say go to college. And I say dare I say go to college because growing up within a family dynamic that operates an honour-based system, you are not allowed to have freedom and independence generally, or let alone even of thought.
At Karma Nirvana, we write to schools every year, hundreds of schools. Currently, we cannot get more than 8 schools to engage with us. This has been since 2008.
I ran away from home when I was 16 years old to make the point. I'm not marrying a stranger. I'd like you to hear my family's response, which significantly changed my life forever. I read this on behalf of all the survivors out there that I stand here for and the victims that we have yet to reach, because this response is what we have to live with. Thanks to you, I can't walk the streets of Derby anymore. You'll get what you deserve for ruining your family, you'll see. I hope you give birth to a daughter who does to you what you have done to me. Then you will know what it feels like to raise a prostitute.
According to official statistics, the vast majority of forced marriages of British children happen abroad. But during this investigation, we've been told that children are being forced into marriage here in the UK, some as young as 10. The Crown Prosecution Service prosecuted over 200 honour-based violence offences nationally last year, and around 50 of those related to forced marriages. Nazir Afzal is the Chief Crown Prosecutor in the North West.
I know for a fact that it did happen in this country. I remember a 15-year-old girl, Iraqi girl, was married, and when she was being married, when she was giving her vows, blood was streaming from her nose because she'd been beaten before her marriage in order for her to go through this ceremony. It is frightening, but it's a reality. If there is somebody who is prepared to carry out this ceremony, how are we going to stop it? At the moment, they seem to assume, I guess, those who do this kind of activity, that they're above the law. They're not.
During our investigations, we've been told that underage marriages are being performed in some mosques in the UK. 2 undercover reporters called 56 mosques to ask whether they would perform the marriage of a 14-year-old girl. 2/3 of those contacted refused to perform the marriage, and many of them found the request abhorrent. But 18 of the respondents we spoke to agreed to perform the Islamic marriage known as a nikah. The Al-Quba Mosque and Chaparan Islamic Centre in Manchester is a mainstream mosque with a congregation of 1,000. Our undercover reporter Zora is calling them, posing as a single mother who wishes to have her 14-year-old daughter married. The man who answers the phone says he's the imam.
मैं इमाम साहब बोल रही हूँ। अच्छा, अस्सलाम वालेकुम। तो एक बच्ची मेरी 14 साल की है, तो एक अच्छा सा रिश्ता आया है। तो बस मैंने ये कोशिश में हूँ कि मैं उनका निकाह पढ़ा दूँ अपनी। How old is the boy? वो 19-20 साल का है। यहाँ पे पाकिस्तान से आया है। Who do I find to do the nikah?
I can get you someone to do the nikah for you. That's not going to be a problem.
Can you?
Yeah, I can do that for you. That's not a problem.
Oh, great.
But before before you make that step, ask your daughter, ask him, ask them both, get them both together, and ask them properly what they want. Because at the end of the day, your daughter is young.
I've already done that, to be honest, or I wouldn't, be ringing around and everything else.
This is the best way. If you ask me what would I do, I would say get the nikah done. My name is Abdul Matin.
The night before their meeting, Matin sends a text to our undercover reporter. He quotes what he says is Islamic tradition and appears to be giving a reason for marrying an underage girl without her active consent.
A virgin cannot be married off without her permission. They ask as to how her permission is given. He replied, her silence.
The following day, our reporter meets Matin at the Al-Quba Mosque and Chaperan Islamic Centre in Manchester.
It's okay, thank you very much. I'm worried about her becoming westernised and things like that. If it's a good rishta, and obviously I just feel it's more important that it's a nikah and not anything else.
Exactly, yeah.
Yeah.
Because you want to be safe from any sin. So does the daughter, so does the son. So getting nikah done saves you, the girl, the boy.
Yeah.
After the nikah is done, everything is halal for them.
Yeah.
So they can do whatever they want. So just fix a date, whatever date you want.
Matin has arranged for another man he says performs nikahs to be present during this discussion. He is out of frame.
That's the gentleman that's going to do the nikah.
Okay.
So he doesn't know English. He can be the witness as well if you want me to get him as a witness.
Okay.
So us two can be a witness. That's not a problem.
There was something you said to me in the text about, you said that a girl's silence is accepted.
Because nowadays girls, if you ask them if you want to get married, they will say no straight to their face.
Yeah.
So they say, I want to get married to him. That's obviously you can't judge them and say she's not a virgin. You can't say that.
Yeah.
But the culture, the Prophet ﷺ, what he wants to say is girls have shy, they're embarrassed. Yeah?
So silence
is the answer of that.
Our reporter asks Matin what happens after the nikah is performed. In Islam, the bride is usually officially given away to her husband's family to live as man and wife. This custom is known as rukhsati.
There was just another thing I was worried about. I know you said it's all halal, but once she has the nikah, is it actually all right for them, like you said, to just be together?
Yeah, to be together, yeah. It's their haq. You have nothing to say.
As husband and wife, even though she's 14.
You have no right.
It doesn't matter even if she's 14.
If 14, it depends on you.
On the way out, our undercover reporter captures the man who Matin says will perform the nikah.
Thank you very much. Okay. Is this the Imam Sahib who's going to... Oh, okay. Well, thank you.
The Al-Quba Mosque and Chaperan Islamic Centre said,
neither of the men recorded in your footage are imams at the mosque. Marriages are not conducted at the mosque, and these individuals had no authority to arrange any marriage there. The mosque condemns underage marriages in the UK, and our own investigation has begun.
Law in this country is very straightforward. You can't marry until you're 16. Also, that you can't engage in sexual activity consensually until you're age 16. If you are marrying somebody, you could arguably be guilty of conspiring in that person's rape.
But so far, no one is yet being prosecuted for conducting underage marriages.
I've not come across any of those cases. To my knowledge, there has not been one such case in this country. However, if the evidence is there, there could be serious consequences to anybody that carries out that kind of ceremony.
Manchester City Councillor Sameem Ali is the council's lead member on forced marriages. She's visiting a school to speak to a group of 13-year-old girls about their views on this issue. We've been asked not to identify pupils who have chosen to speak freely. We've disguised their voices.
What's a forced marriage? What does it mean to you?
I think forced marriage is really wrong because it's like kind of root of other problems and like honour killings and rape and stuff like that.
Over 82% of all forced marriage cases in the UK involve female victims.
Who writes the rules of what a girl should be or a woman should be?
girls a burden to their family and men can carry the family on. That's what the parents think. And the guy can like get money, go to work, but they think the girl can't, so then just like get off her hands, like Salah.
But they don't know that maybe the girl could achieve things too if they gave her a chance.
A local MP has asked Sameem to investigate the case of a 14-year-old girl who was taken on holiday to Pakistan. The girl did not return to school after her holiday and has now been out of the UK for 7 months. Sameem understands that the girl has been married to her 24-year-old cousin in Pakistan. She's going to try to bring her back home.
I feel like I need to do this just to give her that little bit of hope that there is somebody actually here in the UK looking for her.
This case is particularly poignant for Sameem because of her own experience.
I missed school from the age of 13. No questions were asked. I was 13 years old when I was taken to Pakistan. Okay. I came back to this country pregnant. No questions were asked whatsoever.
Sameem is seeking a forced marriage protection order for the girl. These orders can stop a person from being married against their will and prevent them from being taken abroad. If the judge grants it, she'll be able to go to Pakistan and bring the 14-year-old girl back home.
Okay, let me know what happens.
Sameem herself was removed from school in the West Midlands and was forced into marrying a complete stranger in Pakistan. He was 15 years her senior.
It kills you inside. When I am alone and I think about it, I have to stop myself from crying, even today.
Sameem's mother told her she could return to the UK, but only if she was pregnant.
I didn't know anything. I didn't know what would happen after I got married. I didn't know, what would happen when sex happens. I didn't know how to get pregnant. It was a complete shock. I didn't consent to it. I didn't want that to happen to me.
When Sameem went through this in the 1980s, there was not much help available for victims.
I had given up asking for help. I had given up trying to seek because I knew I wouldn't find anybody. Because the one place that I thought would help me was the schools, and they didn't.
Today, there are a number of charities and organisations that can be contacted for help, including the government's Forced Marriage Unit. Last year, the unit handled 1,485 cases involving 60 different countries. Nearly half of all foreign cases involved Pakistan, where Sameem's current case has been taken. But Sameem has good news. The judge has granted a forced marriage protection order. Sameem can now travel to Pakistan to seek the return of the 14-year-old.
I'm so happy. I've got the order to go and get her back. This is amazing. She's going to be safe.
Our undercover reporters are continuing to hear rumours of underage girls being married in the UK. Zora is calling Sajid Hussain Zafar at the Dramatia Islamic Centre in Birmingham. Over 1,500 people worship here. Zafar carries the title of a Lama, which means he's one of the very highest scholars of Islamic thought, law and philosophy.
I have a 14-year-old daughter, a cherished sort of a cousin. I feel the best thing to do is to get her married off.
Okay, that's good.
तो आप अगर मुझे बता सकें क्योंकि उसकी उम्र तो सिर्फ 14 साल की है पर
इस्लामिकली निकाह हो सकता है ना
तो क्योंकि बच्ची सिर्फ 13-14 साल की आपको कोई एतराज तो नहीं है ना
नहीं हमें कोई एतराज नहीं unless कि वो she is willing to
वो राजी है
हाँ फिर कोई एतराज नहीं
और लेकिन आप इस बात पे आप श्योर हैं क्योंकि मुझे जरा सी फिक्र थी क्योंकि वो सिर्फ 14 साल की है आपको कोई
उसमें सिर्फ ये ना कि अगर वो यानी एक तो वो बालिग ज़ाहिर है 14 साल की वो बालिग ही होती है तो दूसरा ये है कि उसका यानी आप यानी उसकी वालिदा ही उसकी तरफ से
यानी एक गार्डियन के तौर पे आऊंगी।
मैं कर सकती हूँ ऐसे, हाँ जी हाँ वेरीफाई, हाँ
बस ये दो चीजें ही हमें चाहिए होती हैं, तो इंशाल्लाह वो और कोई प्रॉब्लम नहीं होगी।
Our undercover reporter calls back and arranges to meet Alama Zafar at his home.
जैसे मैंने आपको बताया, ये भी एक है, ठीक है उसकी, जैसे मैंने आपको बताया वो 14 साल की, लेकिन निकाह करना जरूरी है।
इसमें दो चीजें, आप मस्जिद में कराना चाहती हैं या घर में, क्या आपका ये प्रोग्राम क्या है?
जहाँ आप आ सकते हैं, ऐसा कुछ भी नहीं, जहाँ आप आप आकर कर दे, जहाँ मैं लोगों को फिर जो विटनेस बुलाने में इकट्ठा कर लूंगी, तो फिर ऐसी कोई प्रॉब्लम नहीं है। फिर
प्रॉब्लम भी तो कोई
बात नहीं है, बेशक वो 14 साल की है, लड़का भी इसका बस निकाह ही करना है। और
अरे उसमें तो जाहिर रजिस्ट्रेशन तो आपकी नहीं होगी, चूँकि रजिस्ट्रेशन करने के लिए वो मेरे ख्याल 18 इयर्स चाहिए आपको, ठीक है, यानी जब तक वो 18 साल की नहीं होती उस वक्त तक आप रजिस्ट्रेशन नहीं करा सकती हैं। तो रजिस्ट्रेशन उसी वक्त होगी जब उसकी एज पूरी होगी। तो फॉर्म हम आपको बना देंगे और जिस वक्त वो रजिस्ट्रेशन की उम्र पूरी होगी आप वही फॉर्म पेश करेंगे, तो उसी पे
हो जाएगा, कोई प्रॉब्लम नहीं होने लगी। तो आप फीस कितनी लेते हैं?
फीस हमारी 100 पाउंड होती है मस्जिद की तरफ से, अगर आप वो फॉर्म वगैरह सारा तो, और अगर वो ना हो तो यानी उसके बगैर तो फिर चूँकि रजिस्ट्रेशन अगर ना हो तो फिर कोई बात नहीं होती, जितना आप चाहें तो दे दें, लेकिन ज़ाहिर फॉर्म आपको बनवाना पड़ेगा फ्यूचर में वो उसके रिकॉर्ड के लिए।
तो अगर मस्जिद में भी रखें तो ठीक है, फिर
कैसे
मतलब निकाह अगर मस्जिद में भी रखें तो ठीक है,
करते रहते हैं।
Alama Sajid Hussain Zafar told us,
As a British citizen, I consider my utmost priority to respect the laws of this country. I only offered help after persistent and emotionally exaggerated requests of the mother to calm her down. I did that in the knowledge that the wedding was not possible without first going through the mosque committee. All relevant checks are made at the time of the nikah ceremony. I did not conduct any such illegal ceremony over the period I served the community in the mosque. I am strictly against all forms of forced marriage.
The mosque told us,
We find forced marriages and underage marriages abhorrent and have suspended Mr. Zafar pending further investigation. If your allegations are correct, then we consider this an act of gross misconduct. His actions are completely contrary to the mosque's policy on marriage. The mosque has a strict written protocol that makes the marriage in the mosque of a minor impossible. The mosque committee would not hesitate to report it to the authorities in adherence to its child protection policies. The mosque was unaware of these discussions with Mr. Zafar and the meeting at his home.
Barrister Usha Sood has worked on hundreds of forced marriage and honour-based violence cases. She believes that religious leaders who agree to carry out such marriages should be ostracised.
Any religious celebrant who participates in that sort of marriage should be, in whatever way it's possible within that religious fraternity, debarred. There are criminal consequences and there ought to be, I think, internal community consequences and cultural and religious consequences. People will realize they might lose their livelihood or that they would lose their status.
In Manchester, Sameem is preparing to go to Pakistan to rescue the 14-year-old girl. She's found her Twitter page.
It says Justin Bieber's heart. She's a huge Justin Bieber fan. A normal, typical teenager.
Before she leaves, Sameem wants to speak to the girl directly. Although the girl's parents took her to Pakistan on a one-way ticket, they are now actively seeking to have her returned home. They say they now fear for their daughter's life as she's being held in a dangerous region of Pakistan. The girl's parents initially contacted their local MP and are now cooperating with Sameem.
Do you want me to come and get you?
Yeah.
How would you feel if I couldn't come and pick you up?
I just need someone to find a way to get me back over there.
So
If I can't arrange for me to come and get you, how would that make you feel?
I don't think it would be very nice.
I'll see you next week, inshallah.
Thank you.
Okay.
Next, Samin leaves for Pakistan to bring the girl back home. And our undercover reporter films an imam prepared to marry a 14-year-old in Britain's second largest mosque.
She's 14. Sharia ne taur te, alhamdulillah, she's legal to get married.
Boyfriend that my parents don't know about. I'm worried that they'll find out and that I'll be forced to marry someone of their choice. My mum once said she sympathised with the perpetrators of an honour murder, as she said she would rather her daughter was dead than living a life away from home.
Sameem Ali is on her way to Islamabad, Pakistan to pick up a girl who's been absent from the UK for 7 months. She is now with relatives in a dangerous region of the country while her parents are back in the UK. This journey brings back memories for Sameem.
It's really weird actually, because I'm sat on the plane on exactly the same day I came back to the UK 30 years ago. It's unbelievable, really.
Although the majority of cases of forced marriages of school children happen abroad, during this investigation, we've been told that many underage children have been secretly married here in the UK. Mira told us that she was married in this country when she was 15.
I was doing my GCSE exams. I know that day I had my last exam, which was a history exam. And then I had to come home and prepare to be married off the next day.
Were you a British citizen?
Yes, I was.
Where did the marriage take place?
In England.
Your husband was brought from Pakistan?
Yes.
How old was he?
He was about 29.
Who performed the marriage?
The imam from the masjid at the time. My uncle had said yes instead of me. When the imam came to ask me, because they'd known that I might say no, and my uncle quickly said, she said yes, and that was it. And that was enough.
How much is this happening in the UK?
Still a lot. Very much.
This is the second largest mosque in the UK, the Central Jamia Gumkol Sharif Mosque in Birmingham, with over 6,000 worshippers. Our undercover reporter Mohammed is posing as an elder brother who wishes to have his 14-year-old sister married. He speaks to Imam Mohammed Shahid Akhtar, who is based at the mosque.
And the youngest sister, we're a little bit worried about. I mean, she's good, and mashallah, she's like practicing and stuff, but she's 14, and like she started like after school and stuff, she's going out a lot with her friends. The thing is, we've been offered a rishta, and it's like quite a good rishta. The boy's 20. Would you be willing to do her nikah?
She agreed to it?
They're not like seeing each other. She's met the guy once.
That's okay.
Yeah, as long as...
what I'm trying to say is, are they like happy to go ahead with it? Are they?
If we make the arrangements, then she'll go with it. Yeah. Important things that we get the nikah done. She's 14. She's 14.
Come on, brother. 14. You didn't tell me. 14 years old, and the person's 20. Are you serious? Because 14 is our young age, and they're going to be living together straight away. I'm just going to do the nikah. Islamic law, she's okay to get married. Yeah, because she will be the age of maturity. I mean, she's if you don't mind me asking, she is Bali, I hope so.
Yeah. You mean like she's come of age?
Yeah,
absolutely, yeah.
So, but if if you look at it in the British law, for someone to get married, they have to be 16 with the permission of the parents, and when she's 18 plus, she can get married on a free will. But in this situation, what is going to happen is that the nikah will be done, but it will be done without a nikah nama.
Our reporter goes to meet Imam Shahid in person to discuss the nikah further.
Thank you. How are you doing? You know, you said that basically you can do the nikah, but you can't provide the paperwork. So could you just explain to me, like, is the paperwork, we can't do that because basically because you don't want it being led back to you, is that right?
No, it's not nothing to do with that. It's basically, look, if you get caught, what was the thing? What's going to happen then? You know, the problem is, I've spoken to everyone. What happens, and that's how they do it. Because obviously, then you take the Islam as priority over the law of the land. But then we do consider the law of the land. But then we've got to look at what Islam says, and that's why I've got the right from the muftis. They say do it. Otherwise, it's going to be a problem then later on. If any authority finds out, anyone finds out, then what are you going to do?
Yeah, okay, I understand. So basically it's because she's 14 and because he's 20 for the law of the land.
Yeah, but he's okay, she isn't.
The plan is that after the nikah, obviously, they're married.
Yes.
So the plan is that she'll live with him.
Yes.
So is everything okay for her to go live with him, even though we haven't got a nikah nama?
To be honest, it's for your own safety, for your own safety, security, and as well as to look at that side. Or unless if you want to wait for another year, then just leave it for another year.
Yeah, no, they don't want to wait, really.
I mean, this is up to you, but if you understand where I'm coming from as well, I'm just securing yourselves and myself as well, regarding what it could lead to.
But in terms of Sharia, obviously,
She's married.
She doesn't want to get married, but you know she'll agree to it if we arrange it, and we just think it'll be best for her in the long run.
She's 14. Sharia ne taur te, alhamdulillah, she's legal to get married. There's nothing against that. We're doing it because it's okay through Islam, but then you got the Ghafur, the law of the English people, that you can't get married twice, but alhamdulillah we can get married 4 times. Obviously Islam's made it easy for us. We don't understand, that's the only problem.
The central Jamia Mosque on Kol Sharif told us in a statement that
on receipt of details of your evidence, we have suspended Imam Shahid Akhtar from his duties, subject to an investigation. The mosque has never been involved in performing religious marriages of underage children, and we observe UK laws. Though Islamic Sharia law allows marriages in special circumstances in the Muslim world, when girls reach puberty with the consent of the girls and parents concerned, we do not live in a Muslim country, so we do not practice that.
the problem of forced marriages is not confined to the Muslim community.
In this country, 2/3 of the cases the forced marriage units see are Muslim communities. There's nothing unusual about that because 2/3 of minorities in this country are Muslims. So it's pretty much in keeping proportionately with the size of the community. I've seen cases involving the Hindu community. I've seen cases involving the Sikh community, Jewish community, the travellers communities of this country, strong Catholic backgrounds, strong Christian backgrounds. You know, people would love to be able to pigeonhole it and say it's one religion. No.
Mira knows only too well how meaningful religious ceremonies can be for a young girl.
Be it legal, be it illegal, it's a binding ritual that once it's been performed, you live together, you live as husband and wife. It's binding for the communities, for the families, for the two people who are involved. People who understand what nikah is, it's very meaningful to them and it's very binding. There's no way out.
In Islamabad, Sameem has been waiting for a phone call to go to meet the girl. In accordance with the forced marriage protection order, she's been delivered to the British High Commission.
I'm so glad that she's been taken out of that situation.
When the call comes, Sameem is told that she can't speak to her, but that thanks to the order, she's been put in a safe place.
I'm sad because I didn't get to see her, I didn't get to speak to her, but happy because she's in a safe space now. She's got a chance to actually get back to the UK, and she will. That girl has a fighting chance now.
This one girl may be safe, but Sameem is concerned about how many other British children may have gone missing from school during the holidays.
A lot of young people have come to Pakistan during the summer holidays. Is anybody going to try and find them when they don't return to school? Is anyone going to try and find them? I don't know.
In the UK, we have found a religious leader who outwardly condemns forced marriages. Mufti Shams al-Huda Khan Misbahi has worked with West Yorkshire Police as an advisor on cultural matters and community cohesion and has spoken out against forced marriages. He has said that forced marriages had no place in Islam and that forced marriages cause misery. This Mufti is based at the Jamia Masjid Kanzul Iman and Madrasa in Heckmondwike. He is the highest-ranking Muslim cleric in the borough of Kirklees in West Yorkshire. A Mufti is a Muslim legal expert who is empowered to give rulings on religious matters. Our undercover reporter Mohammed telephones him about his sister.
हमारी छोटी बहन है ना वो 14 साल की है वो बहुत अच्छी है वो मतलब इस्लामी भी है पर ये है कि मतलब स्कूल से बाहर बहुत मतलब फ्रेंड के साथ जाती है जीन्स पहनती है ये वो
सब अच्छी कैसे है
हाँ जी
वो बहुत काफी के साथ आती जाती है सब कैसे अच्छी है आप कह रहे हैं बहुत अच्छी है
और हम ये पूछना चाहते थे कि आप जो निकाह का काम है वो आप करते हैं वो आप कर सकते हैं
देखो मेरे भाई मैं करता हूँ कर सकता हूँ
वो भी मतलब तैयार हो जाएगी वो मतलब तैयार हो जाएगी पर अब हम ये नहीं चाहते कि हम आपके पास आए थे उसको मतलब पैनिक हो जाए हम यही चाहते हैं कि पहले हमको आपको
ऐसा मेरे भाई आपकी बात माशाल्लाह बड़ी अच्छी है मेरे भाई हम मुसलमान हैं हमें यही तो अपने लोगों को अपनी बेटियों को अपने बेटों को यही तो हमें समझाने की जरूरत है ना कि हम शरीयत के मामले में शर्म नहीं करें जो शरीयत के खिलाफ मामला हो उसमें हमें शर्म करना चाहिए बात समझ रहे ना तो एक शरीय चीज है ना तो आदमी शैतान तो दिल में वो सफा डालता है ना तो हमको तो उससे बचना चाहिए ना
Our undercover reporter goes to meet the Mufti at his mosque to discuss his sister's marriage further.
अब तकरीबन कोई महीने पहले कोई बहुत अच्छा रिश्ता मिला है लड़का जो है वो 20 years का है अम्मी भी यही चाहती है और मैं भी यही चाहता हूँ कि जल्दी से जल्दी उसका निकाह हो जाए
मगर उसके साथ भी वो जाती है
किसके साथ
जो लड़का मिला है
नहीं जो लड़का है जो मिला है वो उनसे तो कभी नहीं मतलब एक बार मिली है वो मतलब 7.5 ही मिली है तो वो आप ही तो नहीं चाहती कि उसकी शादी हो मतलब हम तैयारी कर लेंगे ना तो वो राजी हो जाएगी
हाँ बोलो तो वो जो है 14 साल की है लड़का 20 साल का है और वो रहता है लंदन में
हाँ जी
तो उसमें बेटा ऐसा है कि आप चाहते हो निकाह करना ना
हाँ जी
तो शरई तौर पर जो निकाह का मामला है वो तो हो जाएगा क्योंकि बेटी राजी है लड़का राजी है निकाह हो जाएगा आपकी मम ही है
हाँ जी अम्मी तो मतलब बिल्कुल वही चाहते हैं और जो हमारी सिस्टर है
लड़का है उसके अंकल भी रहते हैं यहाँ पे
मिले हैं
मतलब ये जो भी हो तो अगर वो रहेंगे तो निकाह तो यहाँ हो जाएगा राइट
हाँ जी
अपॉइंटमेंट लेनी पड़ेगी पहले से निकाह हो जाएगा बट चूंकि अभी उनकी एज 14 है पेपर अभी नहीं बन पाएगा
आपने बोला कि पेपर वर्क नहीं मिलेगा
पेपर वर्क तो यहाँ हुकूमत के खिलाफ कोई लिखेगा
अच्छा
अंडरस्टैंड यहाँ का लॉ जो है, ब्रिटिश लॉ 18 ईयर से पहले मना है, राइट?
अच्छा,
18 ईयर पे सब अपने पे होते हैं। बात समझे ना?
पर अगर मतलब आप मतलब इस्लाम में तो
इस्लामी तरीका
आपने कहा मतलब पढ़ा देंगे,
इस्लामी तरीका जो एवरीथिंग सब ठीक कर देंगे।
अच्छा,
उनका नाम वगैरह रख के भी हम रिकॉर्ड में रख लेंगे, राइट?
रिकॉर्ड आप कर लेंगे।
हाँ, मगर हम उनका नाम भी रख कर रिकॉर्ड में रख लेंगे। मसलन कभी कोई आलिम पूछे, कभी कोई समाज का पूछे तो हम बता सकते हैं हाँ हमने पढ़ा निकाह, राइट? लेकिन पेपर वर्क बना के, क्योंकि यहाँ की ब्रिटिश हुकूमत 18 ईयर से पहले निकाह को मना करार देती है। बात समझ रहे ना?
हाँ जी। और
पेपर की जरूरत भी नहीं शरान।
हाँ जी।
और इस्लाम तो बताता कि जो जायज तरीका वो हो जाए।
ठीक है, मतलब जो हमारी बहन है वो तो नहीं चाहती कि शादी हो जाए, वो तो चाहती है कि स्कूल में रहे, ये करे वो करे। बस हम और जो हमारी अम्मी है, हम चाहते हैं कि उसकी शादी हो जाए, तो फिर निकाह हो जाए, तो फिर वो ठीक हो जाएगी। ठीक है ना, समझ आ गई है।
ये गुड है, ये गुड है। जब लड़कियों का मिजाज कुछ दूसरा होने लगे तो अगर शादी अच्छा रिश्ता मिला है तो गुड है, निकाह कर दे ताकि वो अपना एडजस्ट हो जाए। It's good.
The Mufti goes on to confirm that this is a real marriage and that the 14-year-old girl can leave home to go and live with her 20-year-old husband, a man our reporter has said she has only met once.
तो निकाह से बाद वो लंदन चलेगा जाएगी, तो ये ठीक है ना?
Yes.
सब फिर जायज है ना?
बिल्कुल सब एवरीथिंग सब कुछ जायज है। इसी का नाम असल शादी निकाह ही का नाम है। और ये तो हमारे रिवाज है ना कि रुखसती हो तो फलान हो तो निकाह, तो रिवाज है ना हमारी। बात समझ रहे ना?
हाँ जी। तो जो हमारी छोटी बहन है वो मतलब इधर ही निकाह करेंगे या
यहीं पे?
अच्छा,
यहीं पे।
मतलब वो अब तो नहीं राजी, पर राजी हो जाएगी, हम तैयार।
चलो तो राजी कर लेंगे तो राजी हो जाएगी। शुक्रिया।
The Jamia Masjid Council Imam told us.
This organisation does not condone or endorse forced or underage marriages. As an organisation, we have in place policies and procedures to prevent such acts taking place, communicated to all employees. The organisation has also carried out training for all its employees on child welfare matters. We can confirm that our records prove that no underage or forced marriages have ever been conducted by our organisation or employees acting on behalf of our organisation. We are undertaking a full and thorough investigation, which is currently ongoing.
The Mufti works as an advisor on cultural matters with West Yorkshire Police and on community cohesion projects.
Community leadership is absolutely crucial because I know they have a powerful voice in those communities. In terms of the young people that I've supported over 20 years, their biggest fear are those community leaders. My own sister, Rubina, the community leader was called. He advised her to go back to the abuser because it would dishonour the family if she didn't. And within 2 weeks of her going back after that meeting, she committed suicide. The point I'm making is if he'd said something different, she may be alive today.
Until 2010, Philip Barnforth was the Vulnerable Persons Officer for Asian females with West Yorkshire Police, a job he held for 22 years. Based in Bradford, he specialised in helping those who were forced into marriage. He also believes that involving community leaders could put victims at risk.
If a young person rang me directly or was referred to me, I would deal with that young person as an individual, and there would nobody would be involved in the community whatsoever. You wouldn't go back to an imam and say to the imam, oh, by the way, Yasmin's just been to see me and she's concerned about she's going to be forced into a marriage, because that immediately means then that you've told somebody outside the arena. You must work on confidentiality.
Philip dealt with over 2,000 forced marriage cases with West Yorkshire Police. He thought he was doing good, but was told that he could no longer continue in his role.
In my opinion, that the police service wanted rid of me because I'd spoken out about forced marriages.
know I may have to leave if I want to live the life I want to, but this makes me really sad as I love my family.
Exposure has been looking into the number of school-age children who are forced into marriage, many of whom seem to disappear from school. We found that fears about cultural sensitivity and community cohesion may be preventing the necessary work being done to protect these children.
We never ask the question of an Asian child going missing from education in the same way, because we have to be very careful not to offend people. So it's got wrapped up in this moral blindness of cultural sensitivity, political correctness, and somehow they've forgotten you signed up to be a teacher, to not just teach children, but to also protect them.
Philip Barnforth served with West Yorkshire Police for 46 years. For 22 of those, he held the unique position of Vulnerable Persons Officer for Asian females.
One year, I dealt with 3 different referrals in 1 month. Every one of them was 16 years of age. Every one of them went to a different school. They weren't related. And they all told me the same story. My family took me out of school at 14, took me to Pakistan, forced me into a marriage. Then we came back to Bradford, and they've kept me locked in the house ever since. I'm not allowed out of the house.
Philip dealt with over 2,000 forced marriage cases during his career. All but one involved women of South Asian origin. Yet Philip ran into trouble with West Yorkshire Police for speaking out about this issue.
This ethos that if we are seen to do something to help people of other communities who are not European born in Bradford, white European born in Bradford people, we are being racially insensitive towards that particular client group. I was told on more than one occasion that me appearing in the press was putting Bradford in a very bad light. Not the good work I was doing, but the negative image I was giving that there was a problem with forced marriage in Bradford.
In 2009, Philip was approached by newspapers about forced marriages and the link to children going missing from schools. Soon after, he was informed that he could no longer continue in his role.
In my opinion, that the police service wanted rid of me because I'd spoken out about forced marriages.
West Yorkshire Police said,
"We are doing everything possible to protect people involved in forced marriage. In the first 6 months of this year, we have supported people through 129 incidents involving forced marriage and honour-based violence."
Within 3 weeks of Sameem Ali returning home from Pakistan, we received news that the girl had been safely returned home. She's now back at school. Forced marriage is a hidden epidemic in the UK, and it's believed that many more cases may exist that go unreported. It appears that the official statistic of around 400 school children forced into marriage each year is too low. So far this year, Karma Nirvana alone has received almost 5,000 calls for help.
Thousands of young children are at risk of forced marriage and the harm that comes with forced marriage every year in this country. Forced marriage is probably the last form of slavery in the UK, 180 years after we've got rid of slavery for everybody else.
I want to teach people what they do when they force girls into these marriages, how it destroys them. I want them to understand that. I want them to understand what would it be like for themselves if something like this happened to their daughter, or their sister. What would they feel? This is evil, this is wrong, it's a sin. You just stay quiet and just hope today will be over, tomorrow will be another day. That day gone by, the next day might be a better day. And it just goes on, and life goes by. My childhood was taken away from me. I wouldn't wish that on another girl.